Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. As we interact with each other in the world, we use different criteria by which we make distinctions. For example, we compare one another based on strength. You might say this person is stronger and this person is weaker. We compare one another based on wealth. You might say this person has more wealth, this person has less wealth. We compare one another based on education. We compare one another based on intellect. We have lots of different ways by which we make distinctions between one another. Those distinctions have their place. Yes, you can look at each other and we can compare ourselves on strength and other features. But the reality is that the true distinction between people isn't based on wealth, isn't based on intellect, isn't based on the job we have. It's based instead upon a person's piety. Because we artificially make these distinctions. These are distinctions that you and I have made. That this person is a Harvard graduate, this person is a Princeton graduate, this person is a USC graduate. Those are distinctions that we've created in our own minds. And in particular, we've been influenced by the people in the outside world who put a premium on those things. Now, why do they put a premium on those things? They put a premium on those things because that's what's important to them. They live in the bubble of this world, and so the only thing they can see is this world. And they make distinctions based on things of this world. How many square foot is your house? How many cars do you have? What make? What model? How tall are you? How much can you bench? All of these things are distinctions that people of the world make. But once you get outside of the bubble of the world, and you get into the reality of who we are, which is we are a passing people. We are travelers. We're coming from a place. We've been dropped off here in this waiting room for a little while, and all of us have to catch a flight to go to the next destination. It's like an airport. Literally, it's like an airport. Look around you. 50, 60 years from now, nobody will be here. Everybody will have departed to the next destination. And look before you. 50 years ago, there were all these people on the planet. Let's say 100 years ago, all the people on the planet, 99.9999% of the people on the planet are no longer here. Nobody remembers their name. Nobody remembers what they wore. Nobody remembers how much they made. Nobody remembers what their houses were like. In fact, it's opposite. We actually tear down their houses to build new ones. We would never be able to wear their clothes. We laugh when we look at their clothes. We would never dress like that today. The reality is that this is just a terminal. Like an airport is a terminal. They say Terminal 1, Terminal 2. This is called Terminal Dunya. You come from somewhere. You end up in this terminal. You're here for just a little bit of time. And you take a flight to the final destination, and it's not even the final destination, it's the next destination, which is the grave. And from that destination, you wait and wait and wait until eventually we end up on the Day of Judgment, and then the next destination from there is Jannah or Jahannam. So this is just a stop. We're just travelers. We're just passing through. Now, if a bunch of travelers sit there and compare based on a few things that are part of their travel, what difference does it make? There actually is a greater reality. There's actually, you want to make comparisons, you don't compare against what's happening in the terminal. You compare about where the destination is. I mean, if a bunch of people are sitting in a terminal, they don't talk about, hey, you got that seat in the terminal, I got this seat in the terminal. Nobody remembers where you sat in the terminal. They talk about where's your destination. That's what matters. Where's the destination? Not what did you have for lunch in the terminal. One person ate a bagel for breakfast. One person ate a donut for breakfast. Nobody's going to remember any of that. You remember the destination. So here, in this particular hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is resetting our paradigm. You think that it might be best, the person who's best is the one who has more money. You might think the person who's best is the one who has the highest SAT score. You might think the person who's best is the one who can run the fastest, 50. No. Those are just creations in this terminal of life which is passing. It's not relevant. What actually is relevant is our attachment to the Quran, because the Quran is that which uplifts people and carries them to success at that destination. So here the Prophet ﷺ is sitting amongst the companions, and by extension we're sitting in that group. Although we're 1,400 years removed, we're just a broad extension of that group metaphysically. And we're being given the same lesson today that they were given 1,400 years ago, which is, how do you determine who is the best amongst the people sitting around you? What's the criteria? Is it wealth? Is it intellect? Is it strength? No. It's the attachment to the Quran. And just the mere attachment to the Quran automatically elevates a person into the status of being the best amongst the community. Now, subhanAllah, look at the way that the Prophet ﷺ explained this. He says, خَيْرُكُمْ, the best of you, مَنْ تَعَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنِ, is the one who learns the Quran, وَعَلَّمَهُ, and teaches it. That's the best of us. Why? Because the Quran is the miracle of our deen. The Quran is that which uplifts people. The Quran is that which guides to success in this life and the next. The Quran is what explains to us, where did we come from? What are we doing here? Where are we going to go? The Quran is what explains to us what has happened for all of the millennia that came before. Who was successful of the people that came before, and who were the failures of the people that came before, so that we can be informed from the past experience how we can best take advantage of our future opportunities. This is all the Quran. And it's the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It uplifts us, it guides us, it elevates us. It allows us to become who we aim to be. So yes, it's important. Your intellect is important. Strength is important. We should work as hard as possible. We should do the best that we can. But it should be always in the shade of the Quran. Meaning we should be infused with the Quran, and through the Quran, we should be out there conquering the world. And I'm not saying you need to physically conquer the world. I'm saying we should be conquering the world in the way that the world exists, which is really by being at the top in every single field that we apply ourselves to. But it should come because of the energy of the Quran that's present within us. It's different when a person wakes up in the morning but is really just chasing a paycheck, then they're just empty inside. But if a person wakes up in the morning driven by the message of the Quran, which is to take advantage of all the opportunities around in order to elevate Allah's great name and in order to be a reflection of one who serves Allah, there's a completely different mindset for that person. They do the same things. They go to work, they serve humanity, they contribute to society, they become role models for others, but the reasons are different. The motive is different. One's motive is, I want to be able to buy things in a mall. And another person's motive is, I want to be able to earn a house in Jannah. There's a big difference. There's a big difference. So we are being taught by the Prophet ﷺ to discount all of the other things and to recognize that the primary motive, the primary source of energy that every Muslim should apply themselves to is the Quran. And there's two options. There's two options. Number one, we be learners of the Quran. We be among those who learn the Quran. Number two, if we have the knowledge, we be amongst those who teach the Quran. Look, essentially this hadith encompasses the possibility of everyone. Literally, everyone can be can be under the shadow of this hadith, under the shade of this hadith. How? Because either we're going to be learning or we're going to be teaching. Both are included. So every one of us can make a commitment. Nobody, the deen is not saying that only when you can do X will we count you in this category. No. Every person here can make an intention to learn the Quran. Now, what does it mean learn the Quran? It could be as simple as, I'm just going to learn how to pronounce the letters properly. These are Arabic letters. They have a way by which they should be pronounced, and we should make an effort to improve that pronunciation. It could be that I'm going to improve the speed and fluency of my recitation. It could be that I'm going to learn how to apply the rules of how you recite the Quran so that it's beautified in the way in which it was revealed, which is called tajweed. That can also be an intention. It could be that I'm going to learn the words of the Quran. For example, 300 words make up about 70% of the Quran. 300 words. So maybe I'm going to take the time to learn these basic words so that when I hear them, I get some idea of what's going on when I'm listening to the Quran. Maybe it could be deeper than that. I'm going to learn Arabic grammar so I can understand the Quran. We could get to the next level where we could spend time learning the explications of the Quran. It's a never-ending journey. It's a never-ending journey, and the more we dive, the more you pull pearls. The more a person dives, the more they pull pearls. Now, this is a really important concept. I'm going to take 3-4 extra minutes just to explain this. I want everyone to appreciate something which we often confuse but is essential because we see it in our society today, which is that, look, human beings are made of 2 parts. There's a body and a soul. Listen very carefully because this is essential in today's day and age. It's always essential, but it's particularly essential today. Human beings are made of 2 parts. There's a body and the soul. The body has its needs. We have to fulfill those needs. But so too does the soul have its needs. And if we don't fulfill the needs of the soul will shrink and die and leave us empty. Why? Because the essence of a human is not the body. The essence of a human is the soul. The body is a vehicle. It came, the soul was put in it, it grew, and then it goes into the grave, and it will turn into dust. It's the soul that was originally created and will rides the vehicle of the body. And when death occurs, the soul is what rises and gets descended. That's the essence of a human being. Now, we spend so much time on our bodies. When we eat, we're just feeding our bodies. When we live in a house, we're just, sheltering our bodies. When we interact with one another, we're dressing our bodies and shaping our bodies. That's great. It has its place, but it doesn't ever bring happiness. It doesn't bring happiness. Why? Because happiness is not a function of the body. Happiness is a quality of the soul. You cannot make the soul happy by feeding it food. You cannot make the soul happy by giving it a large house. You cannot make the soul happy by putting it in a Ferrari. It's not going to ever get happy that way. Those are all features of the body. They will never make the soul happy. We might be deceived in thinking that that's going to make the soul happy because you see it on Instagram, you see it on TikTok, you see it in the magazines, you see it in the lifestyles of the rich and famous. But they're the ones that are the most depressed. They're the ones that are the least happy. You go and sit with them, spend time with them. Here, once you get to be with them for a little bit, you quickly appreciate that there's no happiness here. And it's funny because everybody who gets to quote unquote the peak of the mountain only realizes that they were happy when they were at the base. Because happiness is not a function of the body. Happiness is a function of the soul. Now, what feeds the soul? So now you come to the question of what feeds the soul. And you see today you got all this whole new movement. Look, most people in our life, in living the lifestyle that we live are unhappy. Right? So now they have to sell you vitamins in the store. Eat this vitamin, you'll feel happy. Eat this, eat that, you'll feel happy. That is just another layer. Sleep on number 6 number mattress, number 8 number mattress. That's why you're not happy. That does not bring happiness. That's just one more layer of deception. What brings happiness? Happiness comes through feeding the soul. And what is the food of the soul? The food of the soul is dhikr of Allah. The best food of the soul is the Quran. And the dhikr of Allah, and spending time with good company, and sharing what Allah has blessed us with. Sharing what Allah has blessed us with, it's opposite. We think that we get deceived that think that by consuming we actually become happy. But it's the opposite. It's actually by giving that we become happy. Because those are the things that bring Allah's blessings, and it's Allah's blessings that grow the soul. And when the soul is content, it becomes happy, and it then allows the person to achieve success in this world and the next. So we should give the body its rights. I'm the first to stand up and say, get a great job, work hard, enjoy yourselves to a certain degree. Fine, but never at the cost of the soul. Now, why don't we put that in the context of Ramadan? What is Ramadan? I mean, honestly, there's so much energy in this building, right? I mean, you see people are hustling and bustling to come in. People are excited. You see smiles on people's faces. Everyone's greeting everybody. We're not even focused on the body. We're actually doing the opposite. We cut the food. We cut the drink. We cut the sleep. We don't have time to worry about what's going on with so many other things in the world. It's like when you go out into the world, it's almost foreign because you're so busy on your own schedule. And all of a sudden, you see this energy, excitement, happiness. We ourselves are experiencing it. And by the end of Ramadan, maybe we might get to the point where we can say, oh, this is what Islam actually tastes like. Because, again, it's a function of the soul. It's not a function of the body. So as we go through this month, and as we curtail the needs of the body, which is the essence of fasting, we should appreciate the opportunity to grow the soul, and we should make an intention and think about how we're going to do so both within this month and afterwards. By maintaining a basic routine of dhikr, by giving a certain amount of our time to the Quran, 5, 10, 15 minutes a day is enough to feed the soul. By coming to the masjid on occasion, even one prayer in the masjid a day is enough to energize the soul. Each of us are different. We're at different stages in our journeys. Each of us are different in the way that we've developed ourselves. We just need to ask the question, what's the next step for me? We're not here to judge one another. We're brothers and sisters. We cheer one another on. We don't point fingers at one another. Everybody in this room is at a different level. Everybody has their own next personal challenge. But it's important for us, in the clarity of Ramadan, to identify that challenge, and in particular, vis-a-vis the Quran, to ask the question, what's going to be my next step in my personal relationship with the Quran? How am I going to plug myself into something bigger than who I am in order to be able to achieve that goal? And that's how we put ourselves under the shadow of this narration, where the Prophet ﷺ reminded us that the best amongst you is he who learns the Quran, is the one who learns the Quran and teaches it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala connect our hearts to the Quran, and may He make us amongst those who are able to elevate our souls through it. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen.